We begin today with growing tensions between the US and China over Taiwan. US Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin upped the ante over the weekend, claiming in a television interview that China is now trying to establish a new normal over Taiwan. The Pentagon chief said Washington does not think an invasion is imminent, but he argued that Beijing is trying to change the status quo on the ground via military actions around the island. Tensions sparked in the region earlier in August after US House Speaker Nancy Pelosi's visit to Taiwan. China launched massive drills in the waters off the island, and those exercises continue, although they have been substantially reduced in scale. In view of the tensions, Washington has said that it will work with its allies to ensure an open and free Indo-Pacific. Defense Secretary Austin also said that the US is working to reopen channels of military communication with China, something that is critical to both countries. Beijing halted communication on several fronts with Washington after Pelosi's visit, including routine dialogue between senior-level military commanders. For more on all of this, WION's correspondent Susan Tehrani joins us today live from New York. Susan, let's start with those comments that Lloyd Austin made in that weekend television interview. How significant are they?
So I counted, and this was the third time that Lloyd Austin sort of walked back President Biden's comments about getting directly involved in Taiwan should China make some kind of move. And on the one hand, you know, they are significant because it seems that they want to lower the temperature when it comes to dealing with China. You know, it's important for them to keep these quote unquote lines of communication open with China. But on the other hand, you know, you have the U.S. president sort of making those comments, and then you have the Secretary of Defense, which is a high level official, sort of walking them back. And this doesn't, you know, it's just not a good look for the United States. I mean, does it mean that U.S. officials are not on the same page? Is the commander-in-chief not being taken seriously? Or is there something up, you know, the U.S.'s sleeves, or are policies changing when it comes to the One China policy? So, you know, these are questions that are left unanswered. But in terms of significance, you know, we've seen this happen time and again when the president makes a comment and then Lloyd Austin says, no, you know, that's not what we meant. Our policies have not changed when it comes to Taiwan.
Susan, whatever happened to the whole concept of strategic ambiguity? I mean, that has been the governing principle of US policy towards Taiwan for a very long time. But over the last few weeks, the US approach to Taiwan has started looking increasingly less ambiguous, especially when you take into account President Biden's comments in a TV interview of his own a few days ago, in which he said that in the event of what he described as an unprecedented Chinese attack, the United States would militarily defend Taiwan.
Yeah, even send U.S. troops in. I mean, that is just absolutely unprecedented, and it goes far beyond the comments that he's made. It almost seems like the Biden administration and the doctrine regarding Taiwan is one that wants to be flipped. And again, President Biden is trying to hint that. And for one reason or the other, the White House walks that back. You know, whether or not this is a new ambiguous statement or not is yet to be seen. But this, you know, this quote, one China policy itself is so ambiguous. You have the 3 joint communiques, you have the Taiwan Relations Act, you have the 6 reassurances. There is no shortage of documentations when it comes to the strategic ambiguity. But then, you know, again, like you said, you have President Biden coming out directly and saying it would defend Taiwan. I think what we should really pay attention to, though, is what's happening on the sidelines. And just very quickly, just a couple of days ago, we did see Lloyd Austin in Hawaii. meet with his counterparts from Australia and Japan and other high-ranking officials, and they're really ramping up these alliances in the Indo-Pacific against China. You have the AUKUS deal, you have the Quad, you have this meeting in Hawaii that took place. And I think that's something that while Lloyd Austin says that these activities, sort of nuisances by China, are going to be the new normal, I think while we shift our attention to this Taiwan issue, we also see the United States as really heavily focused with these alliances in the Indo-Pacific. And I think that's something we should focus on as well.
Yeah, absolutely. You had that Pacific Islands summit at the White House only on Thursday and Friday of last week. Susan Tehrani, WION's US correspondent, live for us today from the streets of New York. Thanks very much indeed for that, Susan.